Musically meditated. Special episode because it is May, and May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And with me across the table, I have Robin Sizemore. How you doing, Robin?
Hi, Joe. I'm good.
I'm glad you're here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for including me. And what we're going to discuss is something that Robin has set up, and it's called Superhero Saturday. And it's going to be, is that the right term? Okay, and it's going to be May 11th at 9 a.m. till noon at Hammond Morton Elementary, correct?
You got it.
All right, perfect. And so what we're going to do is we're going to promote this. This episode will be out Monday, so the Monday before the event. And then we're going to find out what happened in the past with her superhero training day, because you did it last year, right?
That's right.
Then we're going to ask about who's going to be involved this year and what some of the ideas and things are going to happen at the event. And it is free, right? So it is free. Yes. Everyone is invited. And then we'll talk about, I guess, my role there and then everybody else's role. Then we'll get into some maybe personal stories about our mental health experiences, maybe how music has helped us out through it.
Great.
We can go into that. And let's just start off, Robin, with a little bit about yourself and your background. You are a teacher, correct?
I am. I'm a teacher. I've been teaching since 1999 in the Hammond School District, all elementary. I'm currently teaching reading, so I pull out those kids that are struggling the most with reading, and we do some intensive work together outside of their classroom, working on it. I really promote graphic novels, comic books, really anything that they're interested in, because a lot of those kids come to me and think they hate reading. And I always just tell them, you haven't found the right book yet. So
that's cool.
It's fun.
That is fun, because after I went to college, and you have to read so much when you're in college, so it's like I never want to read a book again, but I got back into reading through graphic novels.
Well, that's awesome.
Isn't it?
One in particular that
V
you
for
remember?
Vendetta was big.
Okay.
And what else? The Swamp Thing Chronicles. Was
cool.
Big, and The Killing Joke. I like all Alan Moore's stuff. He also did what's the other one? I can't remember right now.
I know mostly kid graphic novels.
Okay,
so
yeah, these are all
Sidekicks and
okay. Yeah, these are adult ones. But what college did you go to?
I went to several. I've been to Purdue in Hammond and IU in Bloomington, and then I went back to Purdue to get my teaching certification.
Okay.
So I have a business degree from the Kelly School and IU, and then when I came back, I worked in advertising for about 8 years and felt like my days were spent helping other people make money, and it wasn't fulfilling to me. So I went back to school to be a teacher. My husband's a teacher, and he was very motivating in that way, watching how his day went and how the kids felt about what he did. So it took me 2 more years to go back and get that.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, but it was worth it.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Awesome. And you went to Hammond School System right away?
I did. I had a couple jobs here and there, but that was the full-time one that lasted, yeah.
All right. And now, moving on to the Superhero Saturday, where does that theme come from? The whole superhero theme. Could you break that down for us?
Absolutely. So superheroes, at least the ones that really affect me the most, have something in them that keeps them from being their best, but they find a way to overcome it. And then after they do that, help others. And I can have the whole like Batman, Superman conversation with you. I think Batman's way better.
Yeah, I'm more of a Batman kind of guy.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
See, we're on the same team.
All
I
right.
think Batman, he didn't have those superpowers within him, but he definitely went through some adverse experiences as a child.
Traumatic,
and those
yeah.
affected him in a way that he could help others. So superhero training is none of us are ready to go in life necessarily, but we can train ourselves to be the best we can be and help others. So that's what I'm talking to the kids about, really.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, none of us come from a perfect background.
There is no perfect background. And I think that's the most important thing that I want these kids to know. Nobody's got it made. Nobody's perfect. All the stuff that you're seeing, and they're on all the social media. So they see the things, they see the most positive things that their friends are posting. And I think that can all really affect them in a negative way. And I just really try to reinforce with them, everybody's got struggles and it's okay.
Right. And a lot of social media is a facade anyway.
Well, and I don't put the bad stuff on there personally because I really don't think anybody wants to see that, you know.
True. Yeah. I mean, some people do. Some people use it as an outlet to express themselves negatively, which I don't understand why, but to each their own. But I do agree with you that it could be a lot for a young child or especially like a teenager trying to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak, of this person and that many likes. And, you know, there are studies now, too, that dopamine is released. Every like that you get, it releases dopamine in your brain. It's like you're addicted to the likes.
It makes sense.
Yeah. So very interesting. Now, in the past, you tried this before, right? So was this the superhero training was at Morton Elementary last year?
We had it at the high school last year. That was the first one. We were sponsored last year by the Legacy Foundation, and we got some great sponsorship donations from like Creative Comics and Griffith and Girls on the Run and LuLaRoe. There were a lot of my friends that really wanted to see it be successful. We didn't have a huge turnout, but last year we had Darnell McDonald from the Cubs come. He's part of the mental skills team.
Okay.
So he came and did a free yoga class for the community, and that brought in some people. It was really, he's a real supporter of us. He lives in Arizona, so he flies back and forth, and he wasn't able to come this year. But just, you know, his personal support has meant a lot to me that I feel like I'm on the right track. And
well, good,
it's
good.
Nice.
And as far as sponsorship this year, it's Franciscan. Is it Franciscan Health?
Franciscan Health, Legacy Foundation. You know, the nonprofit is supporting it, and you know, my elementary school has done so much. It's like superhero headquarters. They're really supportive of me there too. So
okay,
that's what we've got this year.
Now, as far as some of the people that are going to be there, I know that there's going to be artists, yoga teachers. Could you tell us who they are and their story a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is, I would almost say, a research-based event. So based on research I've done through a class I'm taking at Butler for neuroplasticity, I'm pulling in people who have had a personal experience with mental health struggles and also have found a way to combat it for themselves. So I have Jennifer Connolly. She's with Triple W Forum. She's going to be our yoga teacher. She's got some amazing energy. She is yoga, really.
Okay.
She's a great person. I'm going to have Julio Guerra, who is a local comic book artist and really supports kids. He has worked at the Boys and Girls Club. He loves teaching kids about drawing. It's really a passion of his. We're also going to have our music teacher at the school. This is important to her, too. So she's actually been training herself to teach drumming circles as a way to kind of combat anxiety. It's almost like trauma-informed drumming, but it's a really fun family activity. So she's going to be there, too. Julie Burke is her name.
Very neat.
Yeah, so it's a variety of arts. We've also got Mary Barnes is going to be doing some writing with the kids. So if you come to her station, she's going to help you to create your own superhero and write your first like superhero comic story about what that superhero did. So,
oh, that's awesome.
You never know what form of art the kids are going to be most interested in. I know my daughter, it was writing. For me, it's music. So all of those things affect you, and it's kind of a way to almost be mindful in your life because you're so focused on that interesting topic that you don't have to think about the likes on social media or those kind of things.
Yeah, it's weird now that you say that. Like, I remember when I was younger, I liked to write, you know, as like a way of expression, like if it was poetry or whatnot. But then I was able to get my first bass guitar thanks to my parents. So then music was a way for me to express myself. So I was in and out of bands, and then you grow up and, you know, life starts and you just keep going with the flow. But looking at the podcast, it's like, well, I don't perform anymore as far as music goes. But the one thing I love to do and to talk to people about is music and mindfulness. So everybody that listens, they already know the story of how I met Stretton, my producer, but we met through a hat that I was wearing, and it had a statement, you know, about meditation on it. And then we came together. Well, what do you want to do? And then we figured it out. It's like, well, you love music, so why don't you do a music discovery podcast? So for me, it's therapeutic as well, because now I'm able to network. I'm able to find people and talk about similar passions, musical passions or a band that we like, and just go from there. So it's weird, like it's weird, but in a good way.
Have you written your own songs since you like to write and you like music? Have you done that?
I have in the past, like the last song, it was probably like 2014, 2015. I was in a band, but then our drummer quit and we just kind of stopped. Okay. So we're looking for a drummer for whoever's listening out there.
All right.
You could email me at musicallymeditated@gmail.com. We are looking for a drummer, but I think it's a really good point how you said, like, you could express yourself through many different outlets to maybe get rid of any fear and anxieties or depression or hangups that you have.
I've written personally about the experiences I've had, and it's really fulfilling. I know some people just write for themselves, but for me it was fulfilling to get those things out there and have people I didn't know tell me that they understood. Mm-hmm. So I think it's like whatever you decide to do, it's nice to be able to talk to other people who feel the same way.
Like Kurt Cobain was one of those that always said that. Like he would a lot of his lyrics were composed by him just writing out his thoughts on a notebook, and then he would just put them together to make a song. And, interviewers or whoever would be like, oh, what is that about? He's like, it's about whatever you want it to be about. Like, don't dig into it too deep. He's like, it meant something to me at that particular time, but it's for you. It's for you, the listener, to make out of it whatever you want to.
Yeah, we always want to know what they're thinking, though, don't we?
Yes, we
I like
do.
to know all the details, like the tree of knowledge or something. I want to know it all.
I want to know it all. All indeed. And now, like the setup, could you give the listener a little bit of a, paint a picture of the setup that day, like what to expect and how it's going to be laid out?
Sure. Well, it's an elementary school, so we'll have the main door will be the access, and drumming will be in the music room. That's kind of our soundproof area there. The gym will be where the yoga will be happening. Julio, the artist, is going to be in the art room. We have a nice technology in there for him to be able to draw on the TV so people can follow it in a large way so they can see it. And the cafeteria is going to have the writing area, and then you are going to be in our teacher's lounge off of the cafeteria so that you can have your own private spot too. And do you want me to talk about the idea with you?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, and this was you, and I'll name drop Keith Goff, who connected us, but what a great idea. And it's the NPR kind of StoryCorps idea where people can come in on their own and be set up in front of a microphone and talk about how music has affected their lives maybe during a difficult time. And just with the goal of anybody listening who can get that opportunity to know that they're not the only one out there struggling.
Yes.
So I love that you're able to do it, and I'm really excited about who's going to come in. I've been talking to a lot of people about it.
Oh, good.
And encouraging them. So I hope that you have a good crowd that day.
Yeah, I hope we both do. And if they want to remain anonymous, they can.
That's good to know.
So for people to listen, like you do not have to actually put your name out there. But yeah, music's helped me through a lot of stuff. I think what's powerful about music is it could take you back. Like as an example, like if you miss a loved one that isn't there anymore, it could take you back to relive that moment.
Yeah.
Like just as an example to maybe to help with grief.
Oh yeah.
Or to get over, but just as an example. So yeah, it's going to be fun. I think I'm going to maybe go around to each different table when somebody's free, with each location, and maybe get a small interview just for them to introduce themselves and their businesses and whatever. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I've not heard anything like this before, so it's a unique idea.
It is a great idea. Another thing too I'd like to move into is the stigma of mental health and getting help being a weakness.
Okay.
I think that might be more of an older generation situation. Nothing against my grandparents or my parents, but I think maybe that generation was like, hey, deal with it like a man, keep all those feelings bottled up inside. Don't share that with anybody. Just get over it, just move on. But that's all BS. I think that it's really helpful to have a therapist and be able to talk things out or express something to a third party that wouldn't have a biased opinion. Would you agree?
Totally. And I love that you're saying this out loud on your podcast with your age group, because it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's an illness. And that's going to Butler, learning about neuroplasticity. You cannot control what happens inside of your body when you have a traumatic experience. You're not weak or strong. when those things happen, it's just chemical. These things are going to happen, and you need to know what to do when it does. An example for me is when I started all this, I started teaching yoga to the community as a way to raise funds. But I didn't have yoga certification yet. I was working on it, so I had zero confidence in my abilities to lead a class, really. So right before I would start a class, I would kind of lose my mind, like, I don't remember what I'm going to do. I have all these people sitting here, and I have an hour to fill, and I can't remember the exercises I'm supposed to do. So it made me feel kind of stupid, and I wondered what was wrong with me. So going to Butler, I've learned that inside your brain deep, there are two little almond-shaped pieces of your brain called your amygdala. When you're in that fear mode, everything that's in your prefrontal cortex, memories, motion, anything that you're able to do when you're in your right mind, so to speak, is gone, and it's working back in that fear center. The only way you could bring it back is by breathing and movement. So I already knew the techniques to help calm myself down, but it was funny going to Butler. I learned why they were working. So it kind of completed that whole package of, well, I'm doing yoga and I'm learning meditation and I'm teaching kids all this stuff. But now with this neuroplasticity, I was able to add in that extra piece for them of, you know, when you're angry, and every time you're angry, and I'm talking to the kids, and you punch someone, we need to straighten that out and get a different pathway going. When you're angry, instead of punching, what we're going to do is we're going to go directly to breathing, or we're going to go directly to removing yourself from the situation. And then we're going to start this new pathway that doesn't involve violence or saying things that you shouldn't say to adults in the building. And it's been interesting because I talk to 8 third graders pretty much every morning. And just giving them that piece about their brain, they're just grateful. Third graders are grateful. They're like, I never knew my brain was doing that. Thank you. And when they do still make mistakes, which kids are going to do, they know why. Yeah. And I think it's improving their lives a little bit. They're not where we want them to be yet. But like I said, they're in third grade, and they've had a lot of things happen to them already in their life. They've had homelessness and poverty and, you know, a lot of adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, that's caused them to struggle. And they don't have any control over their lives.
Right.
So.
Yeah. That's a big deal. I mean, going back to when I was in third grade and my third grade teacher, like she probably needed more therapy because we were just crazy kids. I mean, we
definitely need help. Teachers need help.
Teachers need help too.
So our school, we got a grant this year to do. We had psychologists come in and talk to us about ACEs and kids and how to react to them and how to help them and how we need to regulate ourselves. And you know, the pressures on a teacher, even in just the past 10 years, have changed so much. We have so many more regulations on us, so little choice about what we can do during the day, and so many expectations. Like, the expectations on a third grader are unbelievable. And so that weighs heavy on us. It affects our pay.
Yeah.
And it's very, very hard. So,
always taking the job home with you, too.
Exactly. So we did have some help this year talking about that. And I think, just like we were talking about, anytime you talk about anything you're struggling with, it definitely releases some maybe kind of pent-up frustration or fear inside of you when you can talk to somebody else about how you feel. So
Perfect. Now, moving on, you have a really cool story, a musical story about Mr. Dave Grohl. From, he was the drummer for Nirvana. Now he's with the Foo Fighters. So could you share that story with us?
Yeah. So, my daughter doesn't mind me telling that she does struggle with depression and anxiety. And when it first hit our family, it was a surprise and it was a heavy blow. So I would be up late at night, sometimes couldn't sleep. And, talking about being on your technology too much, that's what I would do at night, kind of trying to distract my brain. So I first got into Nirvana doing that, reading more of the lyrics and, getting more of an understanding of Kurt and what he was going through, just reading his words. So that, of course, led me to the Foo Fighters. And I was never really a Foo Fighters fan. They were a little poppy for me, even for me, and I like pop music. But I came across the song These Days, and it, floored me.
Okay.
And I can still get emotional about it, thinking about it. So And you talk about how it's important to share things with people. So I've told all my friends what's happened and, the things that we've been through. So one of my friends knew how I felt about Dave Grohl because of that. Her husband travels internationally for work, and he happened to be in France in one summer, a couple summers ago. And he was getting ready to listen to a concert, and it was a very small venue, on the water in France, this beautiful somebody's personal home. So he texts his wife, and he's like, I'm at this concert, and Dave Grohl's on stage. You know who that is? And she's like, oh, my God, you have to talk to him. That's Robin's person. You need to find a way to talk to him. So Dave finishes his, his acoustic guitar set on top of somebody's hot tub stage.
Wow.
And goes down into the basement of this house. And even though it's in a house and it's a private setting, you still had to have a wristband to go down and talk to him. And my friend Lisa's husband, Sheldon, didn't have a wristband. So he's just kind of hanging around upstairs waiting to see if something will happen. Hours go by. He's thinking it's time to probably leave. So he's facing a friend, puts down whatever he's holding, a drink, turns around, and he's literally this close to Dave Grohl. And so even he's starstruck at that moment because he didn't expect it to happen. So he says, I have to talk to you. One of my friends went through a really rough time, and you really helped her through it with one of your songs. And can you sign something? And Dave's like, well, I could, but would you like me to do a video for her? So he did a video and actually called out my daughter and said, hi, Delaney, thank you. I hear you like my music. And it was just amazing that even occurred in this life.
Yeah, that's powerful.
So, that's my story. I'm just really impressed by him. He's just a very positive, happy person who's dealt with
a lot
difficult things in his life and was able to overcome it and become stronger for it. So.
Yeah, that's a great story. Yeah, with Dave, you never hear anything bad about him except if it's coming out of Courtney Love's mouth.
Right.
But that's Courtney. I think that has a little bit more to do with money, and we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like him and Courtney have not always seen eye to eye with the royalties of the Nirvana name and so on and so forth. But I know now that Frances Bean owns all the rights to Nirvana stuff. She might have,
should be.
As it should be. She might have to make a cut for Chris and Dave, but now Courtney's not involved, so I don't think Dave's too bummed out about that.
I think that
happy.
anybody in the whole world probably has somebody they don't get along with. So
right,
even Dave.
But no, yeah, he's whenever I watch any interviews with him, he's a really nice guy, and he always gives back to like that early punk rock community that he came from, because he came from the DC side. I believe he was in a band called Scream.
Yes.
So Buzz from the Melvins knew that Kirk needed a new drummer, and he's like, you got to check out this guy Dave Grohl. So the rest is history.
I love listening to interviews he gives. He just talks about how he just decided he was going to beat the drums and just try to get attention.
Mm-hmm.
He just was going to give it all he had every time he went out. And
yeah, because he does hit the drums hard. Extremely hard, and that's what Kurt wanted, because Kurt Cobain is quoted to saying your band is only as good as your drummer, and there's a lot of truth behind that.
Okay.
So he knew that with Dave, because he is a hard hitter, and he had like Chad before, and he was like up to the Bleach album and some of the recordings on Insecticide, but once Dave Grohl joined the band, everything changed, in my opinion, and Kurt was right about the hard hitting drums.
Interesting.
Yeah. As far as I don't know. Let's do this. Let's move into the three bands, like I mentioned. As far as live musical performances, what are three musical performances that you remember? Who, what, where, when, how, and why? That really had a huge impact on you.
I really appreciate the heads up on that, because
Yeah.
I've been going to things since probably the late 70s.
So you could do it by different eras if you want.
So in the late 70s, I was affected by my parents' musical taste. I will say that. So I've seen Anne Murray, Barry Manilow, Glenn Campbell, and a couple of those were in one of those theaters where the stage kind of
Was it in a circle?
It's like a Lazy Susan type thing. So I don't know how they were able to complete a concert spinning in a circle like that. But those early concerts, I remember just really enjoying live music, whether it was my taste or not. when I was first able to pick who I wanted to go see and actually go to a concert with friends, I will say Farm Aid was a big one for me because it was a huge cast of people that I liked. And I went to IU, so John Mellencamp was a big pull for me. And Minutes to Memories is still like one of my favorite songs. So I really enjoyed going to, like, I think at that time it was Poplar Creek.
Oh, wow.
So, you see a lot of crazy stuff
At Poplar
a
Creek.
concert. And obviously the Foo Fighters, we've been to Wrigley twice to see them. And Wrigley is such an interesting place to go see a concert because you really feel like you're with a family. Everybody's kind of in close quarters, but it's the baseball field and I'm a Cubs fan. So you got that
You're a
going on
Cubs
there
fan?
too.
Oh,
yeah.
you got to go. This is a White Sox studio.
I made it so far.
You made it this far that you had to drop that.
All right. Thanks for having me.
It's okay. No.
And Billy Joel, too. I would like to see him. I haven't yet. So that's one that's like on a wish list.
On the bucket list.
Yeah. Pearl Jam was another one that we saw at Wrigley. That just being in a crowd with people who know the same song and sing it together is an amazing feeling.
Okay.
And so anytime I'm able to do that and be around people that like the same music I like, I feel like I'm at home. Yeah.
And you get lost in the moment.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to see his show at Wrigley, but I want to eventually. So
it's definitely worth it. I would eat before you go.
Okay. Yeah, just in case if you have a couple old styles or whatever, right?
Yeah, or take a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah, take a lot of money and eat before you go to a show at Wrigley, definitely. All right, Robin, but one more time, could you tell the listener where and what's going on May 11th again?
Yeah, so May 11th, please come to the free community event, Superhero Saturday, sponsored by the Legacy Foundation, Franciscan Hospital, and Superhero Training and Supply at Morton Elementary School, 7006 Marshall Avenue in Hammond. That's the Hessville area. Please come in and see my buddy Joe doing some amazing podcasting in the Teacher's Lounge, and just take advantage of all the research-based activities that are going to help people regulate their emotions and their depression, anxiety, anger. That's what we're there for, to just publicize that those things exist.
Right.
It's okay to talk about them, and
Absolutely.
there are things you can do about it.
Absolutely. And I like to always end the show with a part called Meditate on This. And this little segment is a quote by the RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan. I'm wearing a Wu-Tang Clan shirt today, and this is a focus on the knowledge of self, okay? So he says, after you attain love, then you have peace, and finally you get happiness, which is total and complete with satisfaction with yourself. This means you realize that nothing and nobody else can make you happy. Happiness is something you get from yourself. If you're completely satisfied with yourself, nobody can take that away from you. Years later, I realized that this principle in the last 12 jewels applies to everyone, everywhere in the world. So we're all responsible for our own happiness. And if we're not happy, it's okay to talk about it with others. So Don't be scared and just focus on self, knowledge of self, and that's all you can do.
Love it.
Right? Okay.
Love that.
All right, Robin. Well, thanks for coming out. Everybody, please subscribe to Musically Meditative Podcast. It's on YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, everywhere, iHeartRadio. And we'll see you at Hammond Morton Elementary. What's the address?
7006 Marshall Avenue.
Okay, and where can we contact you? Like before? Social media
You know what?
wise?
I'm on all the Facebook, Twitter,
Okay.
Instagram. We have a website, superherotrainingandsupply.org, too.
All right, we'll put it all in the description. But thanks for
you.
coming out.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Adios. I'm musically meditated.
That's right.
I'm musically meditated. That's right.
I'm musically meditated.
That's right.
I'm musically meditated. That's right. I'm musically meditated.
Producer my ass over there.